Welcome to Business Talk Sister Gawk, and today's topic is why most realtors will be out of business in 5 years. This is part two of a series that I have been doing with Malcolm Wallaker. So thank you so much for being with me today, Malcolm.
Oh, of course, Becca. Anything for you.
Yeah, so this week, so if you didn't know, Malcolm and I are both real estate agents with Pemberton Real Estate, and we have to legally disclose that if we have to talk about anything real estate. So last week we talked a little bit about basically the tech that's happening and the things within the industry that are changing. And so the first question I have for you, Malcolm, is let's talk about you had said that you have some sort of organizational method with AI for your emails. What does that look like and how do people do it themselves?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different platforms. And what's just kind of nice about like the advancement of AI is they just become like more and more affordable. So the one I use, like, so this is specifically with real estate agents, is called Fixer. And so what's good about that, because I get a lot as a business owner, and I think you can attest to this, we get a lot of like junk text, junk email, things like that. And they have really it's gotten pretty out of hand, to be honest. There are times, it's like it's really easy to miss things, especially when you're working with a brokerage and a team and everything. So what's great is that you can go and customize this, but I really haven't even played with it a whole lot and customize it differently. But it's this tool called Fixer,
How do you
where
spell it?
Fyxer, maybe it's like Fixer.ai or something. Maybe if you look up Fixer.
Hmm.
Um, it's really, and if you were to even look up apps like Fixer that aren't for real estate agents, because I believe that one's pretty real estate focused.
Hmm.
And I think that even like within like Outlook, like Copilot might even do this for you. Um, what's really great about it is just categorizes like level of importance and just different things. So it's, so if there's ones that's just like marketing for businesses, it organizes it for marketing for businesses. So I might take a little bit quicker scroll through that when it's just a bunch of things that people are trying to, sell me that might not be, you know, I, I love cold outreach and I do a lot of cold outreach myself, but man, it's tough when you're a business owner and you get, 10, 15 emails of that per day.
So is it like an extension or how do you integrate it?
Yeah, so it's an extension. It works really well. I would say like Google works particularly the best if you have a Google. I know it works for Outlook as well. I don't have experience with it on Outlook, but it's been super helpful with Google, especially if you have more than one email going into one place. So anything to do with like my deals or my within my company, it'll automatically flag it as important. And it'll just create a subcategory or folder where I just make sure that that is swept through each day.
Okay. And so you had to customize that, or that just was like an auto
No,
thing that
I've
it learned?
hardly customized it. Like
Okay.
that's just not my personality type. I mean, I'm sure you could do it with where per deal, if you wanted to pull it, create a create a tagline where, it's anything to do with this address or whatever, it just pulls the emails and categorizes it for you.
Hmm.
Um, I don't, I like it all kind of in one spot because it just becomes a little too much for me otherwise. Just how my brain works. So I love this. I love pretty much what it comes with is pretty much good for me.
Hmm. Okay, so what other tools are you using right now?
I'm a big fan of Claude. Um, Claude is really nice because there's a lot of apps that either want to charge you a ton of money or just don't t talk to each other really well. So I've been really kind of focusing on like I want these two apps to talk to each other and there's not like an integration for it. So I've been able to basically make a separate app that just talks to each other. So it goes into, both information. Um, I've been able to create little tools like pulling data from the county. So it's a little quicker for me. So I really use it to kind of create tools that save me, that might be 7 steps, turn it to 1 or 2 step, and simplifies it. It also is nice because I can share it with other people on the team. So sometimes those county websites, when you're looking for septic information or looking for tax information, can be a little bit daunting. especially if you're not used to working with it. And so it's been kind of nice to kind of create little shortcuts.
Okay. Yeah, so tell me a little bit about when you're talking about the app integrations and everything, when you use Claude, is there a lot of like actual techie knowledge or is it something that you can kind of figure out as you just fumble through it?
It's a bit of both. I can, I'm not, I mean, I guess the average person would say I'm techie, but I'm not techie in a way that's where I know like coding very well or anything
Hmm.
like that. If you have any sort of coding background, you can be much more efficient with it than I am. But I can, and you can, I mean, you can make video games on it if you know what you're doing. And probably honestly, if even to a point where you don't know what you're doing, and it's getting better each day.
Hmm.
But
Okay.
I have to limit myself, or else I get too excited and get kind of geek out, and I'll go down this wormhole and spend hours on it. But if I need like a simple thing made, I could probably make it in like 20 minutes. But then the problem is I get really excited. I'm like, well, what if it did this? And what if it did this? And what if it did this? And yeah,
And then you ask it to do too many things and then it doesn't work, right?
correct. Yep, yep, yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Can't be all things all people all the time, right?
Yeah, and I was just telling you that before we met. I'm like, when I was pulling data from like the county, I like all of a sudden I'm like, well, what if it pulled permits? What if it pulled, this? And then the county website's like, you can't get that information without talking to us.
Yeah. Hmm. Okay, so what other tools are you using, like a CRM or anything else like that?
Yeah, so CRMs, I have like, my favorites and whatnot, but I actually have two CRMs that I use for two separate things. I really like Follow Up Boss that helps with just the team aspect and just the customization that you can have with that. And just really simple. And then we have Sierra Interact that is kind of my
Okay,
website.
spell that one. Spell that one for me.
Sierra.
Okay,
Oh,
interact.
SIEA. Yeah, yeah, I don't know
Okay.
how to spell. So
Sorry.
those
What does that do?
So it's that one is a little bit more that one has a nice IDX website on it and then also allows a lot more I mean they talk to each other, but I just like how the systems you can put in place is just a little bit of the auto campaigns and everything that you can do. So it's nice for people that you want to do saved searches and whatnot. So it's those things like that I can get set up a little bit quicker for people, so they're not waiting on me by any means.
Hmm.
Um, and it just works really well with my phone too. So, searches and whatnot. And they kind of serve two purposes where, the Sierra website can kind of be like, it works with different, I think, better lead sources, some of my personal ones, that aren't like, integrated with my team and things like that. So I use that kind of for that.
Okay. Yeah, so other than that, how are these things working together? Like, do you have a website? Do you have like a landing page? How do people find you and like how do you work through that process of getting driving sales?
Yeah. So it's funny is we're kind of going back to like what was nice about Claude and just being simple was I actually had for some reason I was locked out of like my one of my accounts for like my Sierra account for making landing pages. And I don't know what's going on. And I'm like, I need to post this listing and everything. So I actually told Claude to help walk me through making my own landing page. And it worked flawlessly. And it was like it was almost better because it was just like each person get whoever clicked, like wanted to get a hold of me, it like emailed me directly and everything. It was really nice, and it sent the people a Google Drive pictures for them already. So it's like not does it was it as clean as my other website? No, but people actually got kind of like I think a little bit more insight than they had realized, or it was just a little bit easier to navigate through because they got the picture sent to them and all that stuff.
Hmm. So was it like a landing page within Claude then?
So Claude will actually make a landing page for you, and it's kind of its own like website where Claude's the host, and you can,
Mm-hmm.
depending how fancy you want to get. I mean, this was quite literally me. I don't know how to word it. This was really quite like me slightly like last minute because I couldn't get the website to work and everything. So like Claude used the host, but you can create like your own web domain if you want. Some people will buy the web domain of the actual address and everything. So
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of made it like a Facebook hyperlink and it worked really well.
Hmm. So I'm gonna get back on topic a little bit with like what other resources you would recommend to people if they're looking to try to get into real estate to to try to not go out of business because I think
Yeah,
it is
yeah,
getting more competitive.
absolutely. So the really big thing is, and you can go into, I would talk to anybody about like the techie tools and everything like that, but it's still a relationship-based business, and I mean, there's science, there's um, psychology, there's like how many people you can actually like touch and remember and have a relationship with like on your own. And you need to have a CRM of some kind, somewhere where you can put your client in there and that you can just remember to talk to them and everything. I mean, life gets busy. I have kids, everything. I sometimes I just need an email sent to me, be like, hey, you should check in on so and so that you sold a house to a year ago. And so that's been super helpful for me. And it's not like really me being like, let's have the AI do everything for me. And that it's more of like, no, like let's let this be a tool and it's an assistant for me. So that way I can make sure that I'm serving my clients in a high-end way. So CRM is a must. It's not even like, I mean, if your brokerage doesn't offer that, I don't know why they wouldn't. Um, yeah, I mean, that's just, I feel like to me, that's just like a non-negotiable. I think the email tool is helpful. And I would say that, not to get in the weeds about this, I think the next thing that will be helpful is an AI like receptionist or some kind to like take your calls that can help like direct when you can't answer your phone. I'm digging on that. I couldn't tell you if it's like there yet or if it's one of those things where it's, I don't think you have them run your business for you, but I think if it can be something that helps you stay on top of it and call back and things like that, I think it could be great.
Hmm.
However, I'm not saying you should have them run your business or something because that could be a disaster.
Well, you see that a lot at the doctor's office now where they have the iPad screens and somebody from somewhere else in the state is checking you into your appointment if you need help or you just do it by yourself, you know.
Yeah, and I get it. I mean, it is tough, especially those like small businesses too, where I mean, yeah, I mean, if you know what you're doing, you can spend not very much money, but even to have like a third party company come in and do it for you, there's somebody that got quoted like $9,000 for the year to have them run this program through them. Well, that's anywhere from a third to a fifth of the cost of somebody doing that for them. So.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So this is a question I have about just in general because I'm watching all these tools come out and Claude and ChatGPT and all this stuff, and it's like, well, will buyers and sellers even need real estate agents the same way they do right now, 5 years from now?
Yeah, I can understand why. I think that, I mean, I could be super bold and say that there's things in the real estate transaction that'll become easier, and I think other jobs that aren't going to be relevant with it. I think that the real estate agent, though, I would say, and that's, to really talk about like why agents aren't going to exist in the next 5 years. And this is a quote from, I'm sure other people have said it too, but Phil Stringer, who's kind of like the AI guru for real estate agents, he says AI will not replace real estate agents, but AI will replace real estate agents who aren't utilizing AI. And I think that could be just true with just adapting. So I think that with if it's going to replace us, no, because it's too much of a human service. Could it look different? Absolutely. But you really need somebody to kind of be the engineer in the background that's like pushing the buttons, that's making it happen, making sure that everything is legal. I would say that AI will replace bad real estate agents.
Well, and I think you're kind of spot on, I think, with some of that in regards to like right now you have these huge loan companies that are out there and like you can get a loan pre-approved like bada bing bada boom, right? Like just
Mhm.
online. But the reality is that if you have any kind of nuanced property, like the property has a rental on it and a main house, or like any kind of like additional stuff, or it's commercial and residential, like all of a sudden it doesn't hit a box within the process, and you're not going to get approved for that because that's just a bunch of number plunking. It's similar to like having a tax preparer versus a tax strategist, right? Like somebody can enter all of the inputs in and get you something in return, but like if it doesn't fit the inputs they have, you're not going to be able to move forward.
Right. And that's just what's going to be hard with I mean every portfolio, every person that what they have is totally different. I mean, there's people I've had where you don't realize that like oh what their debt to income, it's like if there was a couple more questions asked that a person would think of asking, you'd be like, "Oh, you can't afford this home at all." Like we've had situations where, it's a big box lender and or one of those ones where there's very little human interaction and then all of a sudden, oh, we got to call the local lender down the road. And they're like, yeah, there's no way that they could do this unless we did this, and this. And there's been times where people have had like heartbreaking situations. That's probably been like where my experience has like really helped is because early on in my career that happened. So I've been able to kind of flag that ahead of time now, but it's really easy to fall into that. And especially in the area that we live in such a rural area, like those large places that have tons of money, it doesn't make sense for them to have their own appraisers hired up in northern Minnesota when, they could hire their own in like a metro area and everything. So it can just become a disaster because those guys have to come 3.5 hours away. And yeah, there's horror stories about that, but
Yeah. Yeah, no problem. We can help you. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, just kidding. We
exactly.
see where
Yeah.
you live. Never mind.
It's like, well, according like to the yeah, and it's like hard because like according to the information you gave us, like we can it's like, oh yeah, did you also like forget about like the Amazon credit card that's $1,000 a month that things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, okay, I want to transition a little bit into some stuff that I think it'll be a little bit of a gawk, but so we can do that here. But first, how can people find you?
Yeah, probably the easiest way is there's not really anybody I ever found with my name. But if you just search my name on Facebook or Instagram, I come up. But otherwise, it's movedwithmalcolm.com, and that has all my social, all my information, best way to get a hold of me, email, phone number. And yeah, that's the best way to grow.
Yeah. All right. So, are you ready for our gawk session?
Yeah, you like kept on telling me it was like, is it gonna be funny? Is it gonna be serious? So what is it gonna be?
Well, I want to know specifically about all the stuff that's happening with the drama around like these Zillow preview stuff with like Realtor.com and Compass, and we should start from the beginning because the thing is, it seems like every time I ask anybody about this, everyone's like, "Don't talk about that yet," or like, "Don't say anything about that because we want to have the facts right," or like, "We want to understand what's going on." But like, I think I think that it's not a big deal to talk about it. So what did Compass do? And give me the background of what's happening because it seems like it's kind of like making some big changes in the industry.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot, I mean, ins and outs and everything. And like, it's one of those things where, I mean, people can formulate their own opinions and everything with it. So essentially, and if I were to give like a really high end upper thing is that Compass had their own platform for listings. Um, it was debatable of like how they were doing it and what they were doing. Was it, does it follow all of the clear cooperation rules and whatnot? So essentially, what it was doing is that it was this database that wasn't going on the MLS, which is how we integrate that Zillow pulls their data from, Realtor.com pulls their data from. And so the argument with that is, well, A, that's against the rules. B, that when you do that, how is that serving your client the best? Because it's not going all the platforms. Like, are you just self-fulfilling, hoping to get a double sale kind of deal? And so that was a real big controversy and everything. So what is the rule or whatever is that you are allowed to like advertise or have a platform of a listing. And I don't know where it is everywhere. It's like 24 hours or something or one business day in Minnesota. So it kind of to counteract that, every Zillow, Realtor.com, everything like that are coming out with their own platform to advertise or preview listings. However, that the biggest difference is that it's following complete MLS rules and everything like that. So it's just a preview. They have one business day then to put it up on the MLS. So it's been a cool tool because I've actually have utilized it where it really creates hype, but and really can kind of get advertising early without having kind of everything all together. And it's really, I can tell you like it's so far, it's early on, but I can tell you that it's really helped my clients out a lot with advertising early, and maybe they weren't quite ready yet to list, but they were able to get things rocking, and they still needed the weekend or whatever to get things going. This weekend I have one coming that we'll preview, and then they're not quite ready, but they're going to have a garage sale over the weekend. So it kind of gives people the opportunity to know that it's going to come on the MLS the next week. So that's pretty exciting. So yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell. I mean, there's still controversy, and it's really one of those things where people just aren't educated, where they think it's like, oh, they people come to their conclusions and everything, but really it's just creating a platform for everything to be legal rather than it be to be a secret. And so I'm all for that. I'm all for if it helps the client, that's what it's all about.
Mm. And I just okay, so for most people who aren't familiar with like the whole background of this, like within the real estate industry, there are specific rules on residential housing. And with that, you have to like if you are going to put something out there, like if you have a contract signed, you have to get that listing available and on the MLS within a certain amount of time
Yes.
after signing the contract. And if unless you have like a withheld slip or they have said like we don't want it on the MLS, like we don't want anyone to know we're selling our house. We can only do it by word of mouth or whatever. And
Mhm.
so like there's rules around when you can put something out and how it goes out so that way people can be aware and you can't just sit on it once you get the contract signed either. So
Right.
it's to help the sellers get more visibility to what they have for sale. And so I think that one of the questions I had with Compass though was were they able to get around that because all of the stuff that they had listed was their own for sale, almost like a for sale by owner, or was it other people's properties as well?
Um, it was other people's properties. I think like what it kind of was, it was like their withheld um listings, which is like it is well within their right to have like a withheld where you kind of have within your brokerage of like listings that could come up. Um, and I don't know like the national laws or if this is a state law, but you can essentially like share that with other agents and everything on a one-to-one, but you can't mass advertise it.
Hmm.
So really what the issue was is that you had these ones that were like coming soon, eventually one day maybe, and you could, agents were basically faking it, and there's just too many. I mean, if real estate agents, if there's a loophole, they're going to find it, right? Or that's maybe not even real estate agents, that's just people in general. And what was happening was that they were publishing that out for the public to see. And that's where it's like, well, what are you doing here if you're not following the same rules as everybody else with clear cooperation?
Yeah. And were they justifying that by having it be like a gated access to getting into seeing those? You had to have like a user account to even see them, or was it just
I
visibly
think
like for
so. Yeah. I
everybody?
mean, I mean, or they would kind of like mass email out, check out this listing, coming out. And I mean, there's really, and the laws have like changed since then. So I got to be careful exactly like how they were doing it and what was like illegal and not legal then. So, I mean, like if I were to be like, hey, I have this listing coming up, um, and I have a contract signed and it's just withheld, but it's not ready to go, like I can send that to somebody. It's just not to the masses like
Right.
that because that's at the end of the day, you're not really serving your client by like having your sending it to your people. Like the goal and like my job as a real estate agent, at the end of the day, the best real estate agents are the best marketing agents. So that's my goal is to get as many eyes and faces to see a house as possible.
hmm Right, because then you're going to have the most visibility of opportunity for people to make an offer, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was like kind of a whole side tangent, but like that's why I wanted to gawk about
Well,
it.
that's like way less fun than talking about the hole in my pants. Like, my goodness.
Yeah, if you didn't listen to the previous episode, you are gonna have to go back and listen to that
So,
gawk.
that's right. That's how you get people to go back to your old ones.
Well, thank you for joining me today. I really appreciated our conversation.
Absolutely. And it's too bad that people can't see how red you are whenever I talk and say something embarrassing. But
Ha! Yeah, and if you enjoyed this episode, you should give it a review on wherever you're listening, and I will see you next time.